Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a story that, honestly, it sounds like absolute fiction, right? But I promise you, it is a perfectly documented, thoroughly bizarre piece of technological history. We are going to explore exactly how a fuzzy, gibberish-speaking children's toy literally became public enemy number one over at the National Security Agency. Yeah, the NSA. It's this wild tale that perfectly captures that collision between consumer tech and government paranoia. To unravel this massive 1999 intelligence scandal, we're going to be using two specific digital archives as our lenses today: the Crayon Capital and the Dark Ledger. Let's just jump right in. So we're basically opening the vault on the late 90s tech boom here. You know, that era when silicon was just rapidly infiltrating everyday life. And these two archives, they really represent the dual reality of that time. On one hand, you have the explosive, colorful, multi-million-dollar corporate success side of consumer electronics. That's our Crayon Capital lens. But then, on the exact opposite side, you've got this deep, lockdown, almost shadowy paranoia from global intelligence agencies, just trying to make sense of this brand new technology. And that's the Dark Ledger. To really understand what happened, we have to look at both the unprecedented consumer frenzy and the genuine classified panic that followed it. Looking closely at these excerpts from the Crayon Capital and Dark Ledger archives, you'll find the primary artifact right at the center of it all: the Furby. Yep, a seemingly innocent, giant-eyed robotic creature that managed to cause an absolute, total meltdown within the intelligence community. These archives really pull back the curtain on that 1999 panic, and they brilliantly merge that corporate data with covert hysteria. Someone clearly deemed the story of this little toy significant enough to catalog it through these two distinct viewpoints. And what's so fascinating here is how a consumer product, something literally designed to sit on a kid's nightstand, accidentally triggered a full-blown national security crisis. The dichotomy here is incredibly stark. Over on the Crayon Capital side, we're seeing the massive market triumph of Tiger Electronics. I mean, they pushed out over 40 million Furbies during that initial craze. 40 million! They were raking in profits and just completely dominating the toy industry with this incredibly clever, colorful piece of consumer tech. But sitting right alongside that massive success is the Dark Ledger reality. This represents the hidden records, the classified memos, and the internal directives of government agencies who were, well, they were absolutely terrified. It's the lockdown response of a government apparatus that was thoroughly convinced this harmless-looking toy was actually an advanced piece of espionage equipment. Literally two completely different realities reacting to the exact same device. Honestly, the sheer scope of this misunderstanding is what makes the whole story legendary. Like, how does a rumor about a plush toy actually spread through global intelligence networks? Well, it started as just a whisper among government employees, but it quickly mutated into official internal panic. Nodes of communication were lighting up all across defense departments. The belief, the actual, genuine belief, was that Furbies were listening, that they were actively recording and mimicking classified conversations. To the intelligence community, this wasn't a toy anymore. They thought it was an uncontrolled, distributed network of listening devices actively infiltrating the homes and offices of people with top-level security clearances. Crazy, right? Okay, so let's ground this in the actual hardware reality for a second, looking through the corporate lens of Crayon Capital. The sheer brilliance of the Furby was that it created this incredible illusion of intelligence. Hardware-wise, it just had a small infrared sensor between its eyes to detect light and motion, plus a basic internal microprocessor. But here is the absolutely crucial point. It was pre-programmed with a dictionary of about 800 words. It started out speaking its own made-up language, Furbish, and as you played with it, the internal code would simply unlock English words over time. It was an amazingly clever programming trick that straight up convinced adults the toy was actively learning from its environment. But mechanically, it did not even possess a microphone, zero capability to record or store audio. The whole learning thing was entirely a hard-coded illusion. Which, of course, makes the Dark Ledger perspective all the more extraordinary. Because despite that hardware reality, despite the fact that it literally couldn't record anything, the NSA issued an official, highly classified memo in 1999 banning Furbies from their premises in Maryland. The fear was absolutely palpable. They were thinking, what if operatives are taking these toys home? Or worse, what if they're bringing them into secure facilities? Intelligence officials genuinely believed foreign adversaries could have planted or utilized audio recording tech inside these fuzzy little robots to capture state secrets. We literally had the world's most sophisticated surveillance agency completely terrified of a plastic beak, a motorized gear system, and some AA batteries. The paranoia just completely overrode the basic technical facts of the device. And that brings us to a much larger, and honestly, incredibly relevant realization for us today. The 1999 Furby ban is almost hilarious in hindsight, but it was also profoundly prescient. We can sit here and laugh at the NSA for panicking over a toy with no microphone, but what does that say about us right now? Today, we willingly fill our living rooms, our bedrooms, and our kitchens with smart speakers, internet-connected cameras, and household appliances that actually are recording us 24/7. The intelligence agencies back in 1999 were terrified of a hypothetical threat that we now just happily purchase and plug right into our own walls. So if the mere idea of a listening toy caused a national security lockdown back then, what should we take away from the hyper-connected, always listening environment we've built for ourselves today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay curious, keep questioning the tech around you, and I'll catch you next time.